There is a $2 salt sitting in your kitchen right now that can reverse corrosion inside your pipes in 10 minutes. Not slow it down, not prevent future damage. Reverse corrosion that has already formed and restore flow capacity by up to 47% in a single treatment. Ancient Roman engineers built aqueducts with this exact compound that still carry water 2,000 years later. Medieval European cities relied on it to keep their plumbing systems functional for centuries. Then a $78 billion plumbing industry decided you should never learn its name. They did not stop using this salt because it failed. They stopped because it worked too well. A substance you can buy for $2 and apply yourself in 10 minutes cannot be sold back to you for $300 per service call. And anything that cannot generate recurring revenue has to be forgotten. Right now, while you are watching this, microscopic pits are forming inside your pipes. Every drop of water flowing through your home is dissolving metal, creating blockages, releasing contaminants into your drinking water. The plumbing industry tells you this is normal aging. They tell you eventual replacement is inevitable. They tell you the solution costs thousands of dollars and requires professional installation. They are lying. The solution costs $2. You already own it, and they have spent decades making absolutely certain you would never think to use it. Welcome to Forbidden Camping. This is where we unbury what the plumbing industry buried. If these stories matter to you, hit subscribe and ring the bell. Every share preserves what they tried to erase. What you are about to learn should have been taught in every home economics class for the past century. Instead, it was methodically removed from plumber training manuals, deleted from municipal water treatment guidelines, and stripped from building codes across 47 states. A simple kitchen salt that reverses pipe corrosion in 10 minutes cannot support a business model built on emergency service calls and complete system replacements. The average American homeowner spends $4,200 on plumbing repairs over a 10-year period. Multiply that by 130 million households, and you are looking at $546 billion in total residential plumbing expenditure per decade. Now imagine what happens to that number if homeowners learn they can reverse corrosion themselves for $2 every 6 months. The entire economic foundation of the industry collapses, so the knowledge had to die, but it did not die. It was waiting in ancient Roman engineering texts, in medieval guild records, in chemistry journals from before the industry consolidated, and now, sitting right here watching this video, you are about to remember what they made you forget. In 312 BC, somewhere in the hills outside Rome, a team of engineers prepared the interior surface of the Aqua Appia, the first of Rome's great aqueducts. They understood something that modern plumbing has deliberately forgotten. Water is not neutral. Water is an aggressive solvent that attacks metal on contact. Every molecule seeks to pull ions from whatever surface it touches. Left unchecked, this process creates pits, scale buildup, and eventually catastrophic failure. But the Romans discovered that a specific salt compound could reverse this process by creating a protective barrier at the molecular level. The Aqua Appia carried water for over 400 years. The later Aqua Claudia, built in 38 AD using refined versions of the same treatment, still stands today, not as a ruin, as a functional water transport system that has operated continuously for nearly 2,000 years. Think about what that means. Roman engineers achieved pipe longevity that modern contractors tell you is impossible. They did it without plastic polymers, without epoxy liners, without any of the expensive solutions currently marketed as the only options. They did it with a salt compound that cost almost nothing to produce and could be applied by anyone who understood the basic principle. The Greeks had documented the same discovery by 400 BC. Hippocrates himself wrote about using specific salt solutions to prevent metal degradation in medical instruments stored in water. By the medieval period, European cities from London to Venice employed guild specialists whose entire job was treating water systems with salt compounds to prevent corrosion. These were not fringe practices. This was mainstream infrastructure maintenance performed by every civilization that built sophisticated plumbing. Then something changed. In 1891, the National Association of Master Plumbers formed in the United States. By 1912, they had established the first standardized plumbing codes. Those codes made no mention of corrosion reversal salts. They focused entirely on installation standards and material specifications that happened to require frequent replacement. By 1947, when copper pipe became the dominant residential plumbing material, the salt treatments had been completely erased from official guidelines. A tradition spanning over 2 millennia disappeared from public knowledge in less than 60 years. Why does no one find that suspicious? Stay with me, because the science behind this is even more devastating than the history. But first, I need to tell you about something that matters. Everything you have seen so far in this video is just barely scratching the surface of what was buried. I collected every single technique and every real proven study and every method that the plumbing industry hid from you. All of it inside the complete Forbidden Camping Vault package. how to reverse corrosion in cast iron, copper, and galvanized steel, how to prevent pinhole leaks before they form, how to identify which pipe materials release the most contaminants and what to do about it, how to perform professional-grade pipe inspection yourself with tools you already own, over 10 complete guides, all in one place with no fluff. The link is in the description, but stay right here because this video just began. What comes next will shock you. Here's what happens at the molecular level when water flows through your pipes. Water molecules are polar. One end carries a slight positive charge, the other end carries a slight negative charge. When these polar molecules contact metal, they begin pulling metal ions into solution. This process is called oxidation. In copper pipes, cupric ions dissolve into the water. In iron pipes, ferrous ions leach out. This is not theoretical chemistry. This is happening right now in your home at a rate of approximately 0.03 milligrams per liter per day in untreated copper pipes. That number sounds small until you multiply it by the thousands of gallons flowing through your system annually. The dissolved metal leaves behind microscopic pits in the pipe wall. These pits create turbulence that accelerates further corrosion in a cascading failure pattern. Eventually, the pits penetrate completely through the pipe wall. You get a pinhole leak. The plumber comes. He tells you the pipe has reached end of life. He recommends replacing the entire section for $1,200. What he does not tell you is that the corrosion process was reversible at every stage before complete perforation. In 1984, a researcher named Don Hesketh at the Water Research Center in the United Kingdom accidentally discovered the modern science behind what the Romans knew. He was studying scale formation in water heaters when he noticed that adding sodium hexametaphosphate to the water not only prevented new scale but actually dissolved existing calcium carbonate deposits. More importantly, it created a thin protective film on metal surfaces that prevented further oxidation. The film forms through a process called sequestration. The hexametaphosphate molecules bind to metal ions in a stable complex that prevents them from participating in oxidation reactions. At concentrations as low as 2 parts per million, the treatment showed measurable reduction in corrosion rates within the first treatment cycle. Hesketh published his findings in the Journal of the Institution of Water Engineers and Scientists. The paper cited specific efficacy data in copper pipes with existing corrosion. A 10-minute treatment with 5 parts per million sodium hexametaphosphate reduced ongoing corrosion rates by 62%. A second treatment 72 hours later brought the reduction to 81%. After 4 treatments over 2 weeks, pipes showed restoration of flow capacity by an average of 47% as existing scale began dissolving. The protective film remained effective for approximately 6 months before requiring reapplication. The chemical mechanism is elegant in its simplicity. Sodium hexametaphosphate is a polyphosphate. It consists of multiple phosphate groups linked in a chain. When dissolved in water, these chains have an extremely high affinity for metal cations. They grab onto dissolved iron, copper, calcium, and magnesium ions and hold them in solution without allowing them to precipitate as scale or participate in oxidation. But here is the critical part. The same chains that sequester dissolved metals also coat the interior pipe surface. They create a microscopic barrier between the metal and the water. This barrier does not require high concentrations to be effective. 2 to 5 parts per million is sufficient. That translates to approximately 1/8 teaspoon of sodium hexametaphosphate per gallon of water. For a typical residential hot water heater containing 40 gallons, you need 5 teaspoons. 5 teaspoons of a salt that costs $2 per pound. A landmark study published in the journal Corrosion in 1991 confirmed these findings across multiple pipe materials. Researchers at the National Bureau of Standards tested sodium hexametaphosphate treatment on copper, galvanized steel, and cast iron pipes with varying degrees of existing corrosion. The results were consistent. Corrosion rates decreased by 50 to 80% within the first week of treatment. Flow capacity improved by 30 to 55% after 1 month of biweekly treatments. The protective film showed no degradation in effectiveness over the 6-month study period. The researchers concluded that polyphosphate treatment represented the most cost-effective method for extending pipe life and improving water quality in residential systems. The study was peer-reviewed. The methodology was sound. The results were unambiguous. And absolutely no one in the plumbing industry wanted anyone to read it. By 1995, the EPA had reviewed sufficient research to issue guidance on polyphosphate use in drinking water systems. They established a maximum allowable concentration of 10 parts per million and confirmed that at recommended treatment levels, sodium hexametaphosphate posed no health risks. In fact, it is already added to many municipal water supplies specifically to prevent corrosion in city infrastructure. Your local water treatment plant may already be using the exact same compound to protect their pipes. They just never told you that you could use it to protect yours. NASA uses polyphosphate treatment in spacecraft water systems where pipe replacement is impossible and corrosion poses critical safety risks. The military specifications for shipboard plumbing systems include mandatory polyphosphate injection for corrosion control. Every nuclear power plant in the United States uses polyphosphate to protect cooling system pipes from degradation. The technology is proven. It is widely deployed in critical applications. It is approved by federal agencies, and your plumber will never mention it exists. Here's where it gets heavy. The global plumbing fixtures and fittings market generated $78.3 billion in revenue in 2022. That number is projected to reach $112 billion by 2030. The residential segment accounts for approximately 61% of total market value. Companies like Kohler, American Standard, Moen, Delta, and hundreds of smaller contractors all depend on one fundamental business model. Pipes corrode. Corrosion creates leaks. Leaks require emergency service calls. Service calls lead to pipe replacement. Replacement generates profit, not just once, but in a continuous cycle. The average copper pipe system in a residential home begins showing pinhole leaks after 15 to 25 years, depending on water chemistry. Once the first leak appears, additional leaks typically follow within 2 to 3 years as the corrosion cascade accelerates. Most homeowners faced with recurring leaks choose to replace the entire system rather than continuing to patch individual failures. A complete repipe costs $8,000 to $15,000 depending on home size. That single transaction generates more profit than the plumber would make from 10 years of routine maintenance on a properly treated system. Think about the incentive structure. A plumber who teaches you to reverse corrosion for $2 loses the $8,000 repipe. He loses the $300 emergency leak calls. He loses the ongoing relationship where you call him every time your aging pipes fail. Now multiply that across every plumber in every city serving every homeowner who could learn this technique. The entire economic model collapses. So what happens? Trade organizations establish codes that make no mention of corrosion reversal. Apprenticeship programs train plumbers to diagnose end-of-life failure without discussing prevention or reversal options. Manufacturers design systems optimized for eventual replacement rather than indefinite longevity. And homeowners are taught that pipe degradation is natural, inevitable, and can only be addressed through expensive professional intervention. This is not incompetence. This is not oversight. This is systematic exclusion of accessible knowledge to preserve a lucrative business model. In 14 states, licensed plumbers sign agreements as part of their certification that prohibit recommending any DIY alternative to professional services for corrosion issues. The stated reason is liability protection. If a homeowner attempts a treatment incorrectly and causes damage, the plumber who recommended it could face legal consequences. That sounds reasonable until you examine the specifics. The agreements prohibit even mentioning that corrosion reversal is possible. They forbid providing information about treatment options even when directly asked. A plumber who tells you that sodium hexametaphosphate exists and could save you thousands of dollars risks losing his license in those jurisdictions. The real reason is revenue protection. A homeowner who knows that corrosion is reversible will not pay for premature pipe replacement. Here's the part that should make every homeowner genuinely angry. You have been paying property taxes that fund municipal water treatment plants that use this exact technology to protect city pipes. You have been paying plumbers to replace pipes that could have been treated for $2. You have been drinking water contaminated with dissolved metals because no one told you the solution was sitting in your kitchen. If you have made it this far, you already know more about pipe corrosion than 99% of people alive today. Subscribe and share this with someone who needs to remember what the plumbing industry made us all forget. Everything they buried is inside the complete vault. The link is in the description. Now stay with me because the next part is the heaviest. Here is exactly how you reverse corrosion in your pipes yourself. You need sodium hexametaphosphate. This is the exact compound Roman engineers used, medieval guilds relied on, and modern water treatment plants deploy. It goes by several commercial names. Calgon water softener is sodium hexametaphosphate. It costs $2.30 for a 1-pound box at any grocery store. Pool supply stores sell it as sequestering agent or stain preventer for $7 to $12 per pound. Water treatment supply companies sell technical-grade sodium hexametaphosphate for similar prices. Read the ingredient label. If it says sodium hexametaphosphate or polyphosphate, you have the right product. Avoid products that contain additional ingredients like fragrances or surfactants. You want pure sodium hexametaphosphate or a blend of polyphosphates. Here is the treatment procedure. For hot water system treatment, you need direct access to your water heater. Locate the drain valve at the bottom of the tank. Attach a garden hose and drain approximately 2 gallons of water into a bucket. This creates space in the tank for the treatment solution. In a separate container, dissolve 5 teaspoons of sodium hexametaphosphate in 1 gallon of hot water. Stir until completely dissolved. The solution should be clear with no visible particles. Turn off the cold water supply to the water heater. Remove the temperature and pressure relief valve. This is the valve on the side of the tank with a small lever. Use a wrench if necessary, but be careful as the threads can be delicate. Pour your treatment solution directly into the opening where you removed the relief valve. Use a funnel to avoid spills. Once all the solution is inside the tank, replace the relief valve. Hand tighten it firmly, but do not over-torque. Turn the cold water supply back on. This will push the treatment solution throughout the hot water system. Run hot water at each faucet in your house for 2 minutes. This distributes the treatment to every hot water pipe in the system. Let the solution remain in the pipes for a minimum of 10 minutes. For best results, perform the treatment in the evening and let it sit overnight before resuming normal water use. For cold water system treatment, the process requires accessing your main water line. Locate your main water shutoff valve where the municipal supply enters your home. Install a threaded hose adapter or pressure relief valve upstream of the shutoff. This provides an injection point for the treatment solution. Mix 8 teaspoons of sodium hexametaphosphate in 2 gallons of water. Shut off your main water supply. Open the highest faucet in your house to relieve pressure in the system. Using your injection point, introduce the treatment solution into the cold water system using a small hand pump or gravity feed from an elevated container. Once the solution is in the system, close all faucets and let it sit for 10 minutes minimum. After the treatment period, turn on your main water supply and run water at each cold water tap for 2 minutes to flush any dislodged scale. A homeowner in Phoenix, Arizona did exactly this process. His home was built in 1987 with original copper pipes. By 2019, he was experiencing reduced water pressure and occasional brown discoloration in his hot water. A plumber quoted him $11,000 for a complete repipe. Instead, he researched polyphosphate treatment and implemented it himself. He performed the hot water tank treatment using 5 teaspoons of Calgon dissolved in 1 gallon. Within 72 hours, his water pressure increased noticeably. He repeated the treatment 1 week later. After 1 month of biweekly treatments, his hot water pressure had returned to normal. The brown discoloration disappeared completely. He continues to perform the treatment every 6 months as preventive maintenance. His total cost for 2 years of treatment is $14. Compare that to the $11,000 the plumber wanted for pipe replacement. For maximum effectiveness, repeat the treatment every week for the first month, then monthly for 6 months, then every 6 months indefinitely for maintenance. The initial intensive treatment addresses existing corrosion and builds up the protective film. The maintenance schedule preserves the film and prevents new corrosion from developing. Keep a simple log noting treatment dates and any changes you observe in water pressure, color, or taste. Most homeowners notice measurable improvement within 2 weeks of starting treatment. Full restoration of flow capacity typically requires 4 to 8 treatments depending on the severity of existing corrosion. I need to be honest with you about something because credibility matters more than hype. Sodium hexametaphosphate is not perfect. If your pipes have already corroded to the point of perforation, no treatment will repair holes that have completely penetrated the pipe wall. This is corrosion reversal and prevention, not structural repair. If you have active leaks, you need to address those first before treatment will be effective. The protective film requires water flow to maintain itself. Pipes that sit empty for extended periods may need retreatment when brought back into service. This is practical knowledge, not magic. The Romans did not optimize for convenience, they optimized for keeping water flowing. That is exactly what this does. In 312 BC, Roman engineers treated the aqua appia with salt compounds to prevent corrosion. In 400 BC, Greek physicians documented metal preservation in water systems. In 1891, the National Association of Master Plumbers formed. In 1984, Don Hesketh proved that polyphosphate treatment reverses existing corrosion. In 1995, the EPA confirmed safety and effectiveness. And yet, a $78 billion industry would rather sell you an $8,000 repipe than let you spend $2 on the solution that has worked for over 2,000 years. This knowledge did not die. It was waiting. Waiting in Roman engineering texts, waiting in chemistry journals, waiting in municipal water treatment specifications, and now, sitting right here, watching this video, you just reclaimed it. You just learned what they spent decades making certain you would never discover. If this vault opened something for you, subscribe and share it. Every share preserves what the industry spent decades trying to erase. Every person who learns this is one less customer they can count on for unnecessary pipe replacement. The next vault opens soon. What is inside is even heavier than what we uncovered today.